It's locked up. That's not good. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. Hope everybody's having a great week. What do we have here? We have a commercial customer's very expensive Husqvarna 572 XP.
No one expected the silence, not from her. For years, BRE, the calm and capable force behind the Chickanic YouTube channel, had been the internet's quiet hero of small engine repair.
Now this is, it looks like a semi-new plug. It's been burning perfectly, so let's check.
The woman who could tame any stubborn machine with nothing but patience, grit, and that steady, reassuring voice. She wasn't trying to be famous, she was simply real. And that authenticity made people trust her more deeply than they realized. Until the morning she uploaded a video that looked nothing like her usual content. No tools, engines, and workshop hum, just BRE. Quieter, heavier, her eyes carrying a weight her audience had never seen. And in those first few seconds, before she even spoke, viewers could feel it in their gut. Something was wrong, something had shifted, and something unknown was finally about to be revealed. Instead of the usual repair table or the clatter of tools, the video opened with BRE sitting still, the background quiet, and her expression softer than usual. The title said something close to the end of an era.
So I'm fixing to freak my customers out. I am telling you the truth, I am closing my shop.
But viewers couldn't have prepared themselves for the emotional weight hidden in those few words. She spoke slowly, carefully, as if trying to hold together parts of herself that felt fragile. What she revealed was not a scandal or a dramatic twist, but it struck harder because it was real. After more than a decade of running her small engine repair shop, a place she had built with her own hands and where she had filmed countless tutorials, she was closing it down.
I am telling you the truth, I am closing my shop because I got a lot to say. Now, I haven't wanted to say too much about it because I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
The reason, she explained, came down to her health and the personal strain that years of nonstop work had placed on her body and mind. She didn't give all the details, but the fatigue was there in her voice. The exhaustion was visible in the way she blinked just a little too slowly. The pauses she took before choosing her next words. It didn't feel like a decision she wanted to make. It felt like a decision she had been cornered into by life, by a body that could no longer push any harder. That video marked a turning point, not just in her career, but in the relationship she had with her audience. Because the truth is, people grow attached to the creators who help them. Even when the help is something as practical as fixing a lawnmower or diagnosing a carburetor issue. For many, BRE had been a reliable anchor, someone whose calm explanations made overwhelming chores feel manageable. And now, suddenly, she was facing a struggle she couldn't diagram or fix on camera. What made things even harder for viewers to process was what happened next, or what didn't happen. She didn't disappear, go offline, or make a dramatic exit speech or shut down the channel. She continued uploading, though less frequently. She did live streams, joined equipment expos and industry events, shaking hands, chatting with other creators, smiling for cameras. On the surface, she remained present, but beneath that presence, something felt different. Her energy seemed more measured, voice occasionally carried a weight it hadn't before, and her smile still reached her eyes, but not as easily. Longtime fans noticed tiny shifts in her tone, pace of her speech, and the way she carried herself. None of it was dramatic enough to point out in isolation, but together they created a quiet tension, the sense that something had changed in ways she wasn't ready to talk about. And that's when the internet did what it often does. It started filling in the blanks. Across Reddit, especially in small engine, mod, DIY, and creator watching subreddits, users have been piecing together their own interpretations of BRE's sudden shift in energy and the closing of her shop. Many threads are filled with genuine concern, fans sharing clips of her older videos and comparing them to recent ones, pointing out the exhaustion in her eyes or the change in her voice. Others drift into speculation, guessing whether her health issues became more serious or whether the stress of running a business simply became too heavy. While none of the darker theories are supported by evidence, the discussions reveal how deeply viewers were affected by her updates. People on Reddit trying to make sense of the sudden quietness from a creator who had once been so consistently strong. What stands out the most is that despite all the theories, almost every thread ends the same way, with strangers hoping she's okay, even if they never know the full story. When someone who once felt unshakable suddenly moves differently, Do we look closer because we care, or because we're afraid of what silence might mean? People began talking, then speculating, and then weaving theories around her reduced workload. Some viewers assumed her health had declined sharply. Others suspected financial pressure after closing the shop. A few whispered about personal turmoil, strained relationships, or hidden circumstances. But these theories all shared one thing in common. None of them came from her. None were supported by public records or confirmed information. They were just projections, attempts to explain the discomfort that comes from watching someone strong become uncertain. And yet, even though the rumors weren't grounded in evidence, the concern behind them wasn't malicious. People worried because they had watched her for so long. She had become part of their routines, and they had let her into their homes through their screen. When someone like that changes even slightly, it sparks worry. What made it even more complicated was BRE's quiet resilience. She kept going, slower and with more caution, but she kept showing up. That's part of what made the situation so emotionally tangled. She didn't retreat completely into privacy, nor did she open up about the full depth of her struggles. She existed in a sort of liminal space, half visible, half withdrawn, and sharing enough to reassure people she was still around, but not enough to silence their questions. Over time, this created a kind of tension, because the absence of information created its own shadow. Silence can be its own kind of mystery, and it can make even normal life changes feel like something ominous. Why are we so uncomfortable when people choose privacy in a world that expects confession? As months passed, the narrative around her didn't become clearer. If anything, it became more blurred. People wanted to know, was she getting better, or was she still overwhelmed? But no definitive answers came, and maybe that is the hardest part for audiences. Not the presence of tragedy, but the possibility of it. The unanswered questions lingered like fog, not harmful or dangerous, but dense enough to make people uneasy. Yet through all of this, something quietly admirable emerged: her boundaries. In a digital world where so many creators overshare, dramatize, and monetize their hardships, BRE did the opposite. She shared only what she felt comfortable sharing. She kept the line between personal and public intact, and in doing so, she reminded people that privacy is not secrecy, and not every struggle needs to be turned into content. Still, viewers felt the emotional weight of watching someone they admired transition into a phase of life that didn't fit neatly into the energetic, always-on rhythms of YouTube. They missed the shop, repairs, and the reassuring sound of her voice explaining something complicated in a way that made it feel simple. They missed the version of her whose strength felt effortless. And maybe that's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes people mourn the version of someone they never truly knew. The real story of what happened to BRE is one of transition, physical strain, emotional fatigue, and the courage to step away from a life that was no longer sustainable. The rest, the speculation, whispered theories, are those which belong more to the internet than to her. Maybe the real mystery isn't what happened to her, but why we feel so compelled to fill in the blanks when someone chooses to walk through their pain privately. As for what comes next, no one can say for certain, not her viewers, Reddit detectives, and not even the people who followed her since her earliest upload. And maybe that uncertainty is part of the truth she's quietly choosing. BRE seems to be moving at her own pace now, rebuilding her life off camera, while still holding on to the parts of her identity she loves. Maybe she'll return with renewed strength. Maybe she'll explore a gentler version of her craft, or maybe she'll continue sharing small pieces of her journey without ever giving the world the full story. BRE continues to appear at industry events and continues to make content when she can. She hasn't vanished into tragedy, nor risen into some dramatic comeback arc. She's simply living, adapting at her own pace, reshaping her life quietly, intentionally, and without needing the world's approval. And maybe that's the true heart of her story: resilience, the quiet kind that doesn't need applause, and the kind that continues even when no one fully understands what it costs. Her journey is the story of a woman who listened to her body, protected her well-being, and chose to evolve outside the internet's demand for constant transparency. And in a way, that makes her more human than ever.